everybody, welcome you back to another Thursday night fly tying event here with Fly Fishing Bow River Outfitters. We're on remote location today. We're here at Wolf Creek, well, just outside Wolf Creek Angler Fly Shop. I'm gonna bring it to you true Montana style outside with all the smells and the beauty of what we have here. Really thankful to be down here. We're down here for a little trip, picking up some boats, doing some fishing. So we're gonna be away from you for this week, but our crew are back home. Thank you guys for all showing up. Heading back there to the brewery, and stay tuned. We're gonna take you through some flies. Might be a little quicker than normal as we're outside in a little bit of the cold, but we're gonna take you through two flies today. So we're gonna go through a Circus peanut streamer, and we're gonna kind of bring one back that we taught you earlier in the year, the Chernobyl stone. We're gonna do we call this one the Noble Chernobyl. It's a little bit bigger. It's a true Bow River Stonefly, a little different color and a little bit bigger in style. As far as announcements are concerned, we're going to do one more meeting, so we'll do one more tying night. We're going to kind of do another fun fly box one like we did at Christmas, so stay tuned. We'll get to you at the dates of when we're going to do that, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so again, like I said, we're going to start off. We're going to go with the Circus peanut to start, and then we're going to go with a Stonefly after that, a little bit bigger version of this one. And we're gonna get those done for you. Okay, so for you guys at home, with the packages, if you guys want to pull out, the package that we're gonna do is the Circus peanut. So it's got 2 hooks in it, got some wire, and it should have all the green materials. So what we're gonna do is you should have 2 hooks that are relatively the same size. If one of them is longer, it'll be the front fly. This is articulated, so we're gonna have 2 hooks in this one. So I'm going to take my first hook, get it secured in your vise. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get our thread started on there. As far as color's concerned, something dark in color. If it's not green or olive, I'm just going to go with black today, using a UTC 140. We'll use that for both of our flies. So go ahead, we're going to lay a nice thread base down, start up at the eye, and work your thread back down to the bend. And once we have that in there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our marabou. So we just want to take it right back to the top of the bend. We'll tie in our marabou on top, and we'll go from there. Okay. So you should have a nice plume of marabou in there. We are only going to need to use one. So as far as length is concerned, when we tie this in, we want this strip of marabou. Again, if you moisten it down, you can pull it back. We want it to be about the length of the hook shank. Okay, so that's what we're going to take back. We can switch hands, set it on top, gathering wrap. We'll get that nice and secure. You can take that thread, and we're going to actually wrap right up the body, or the shank of the hook, sorry, kind of making an underbody for the rest of the materials we have. And then just give yourself a little bit of room behind the eye, and we'll go ahead and we'll snip out that marabou. The materials aren't staying still. Okay, now we can take this and go ahead back. I will say again, you only have, for the flies this week, you've got enough material for one of each. So we're going to use all the materials that we have of each, so you're not going to have extras there. Okay, so next thing we're going to tie in is you should have schlappen. So we're going to take you should have a couple in there. We're going to take your first one, we're going to pull back the tips, and again, as we've talked about on all the hackle feathers that we tie in, we want to tie it in so that those fibers naturally want to point rearward. So we're going to tie it in with the concave portion of the feather pointed towards the eye. So we'll go ahead and we'll tie that in. Want to make sure that's good and secure. So we can take that tag in, put a couple of wraps of thread over it, bring it back down. You can snip out the rest. Garnett?
How you doing?
I'm good. Got some new faces and some old faces here. The founder of the Beetle Emerger is in the house. For you guys back at the brewery, I apologize if things go a little bit fast. I know there's some people there to help you. Thanks again, Jared, for being there and helping the crew out. So if I go too fast for you, I'm sorry. I'm not with you, so I can't I can't do anything to help you with that. All right. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take. You're gonna have some cactus chenille. So I want you to take the piece that you have and cut it in half, because you're gonna have enough for just the one fly. So being that it's a chenille, it's got that under thread in it. That's what we want to tie in, so you can pull a little bit of that stuff back. And we'll go ahead and tie this in. Again, for you guys at home, if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to ask. We'll take the time, we'll answer them the best that we can. So if any of you don't know where we're at for this trip, we're actually down here in Wolf Creek, so it's just outside Craig, Montana. This is its own little community here. This area has got a whole nother culture around fly fishing, so it's been a really unique experience. I was down here last fall, and so wanted to stop here. The nice guy who brought me was Garnett. So we came down here last fall, went fishing, and we had to pick up some boats. So we thought this would be a great place to come and stop. So we are on the Missouri River. That's what we're fishing here. Pretty awesome place. If you want to come down south, it's not far. I think we're maybe 6.5 hours from home, from Calgary. Great destination. Get your guided trips down here as well if you want. If you don't know where you're headed, Wolf Creek Angler. Okay, so now that we got that tied in there, we're going to advance our thread forward. We're going to leave ourselves a little bit of room behind the eye, and we'll lay it there. So first what we're going to do is we're going to wrap our chenille up, and we're going to tie it off, and then we're going to follow up by wrapping or slapping up, and we're going to again tie that off, okay? So we can bring that forward. Just nice open wraps. We're just trying to lay a nice sparkly underbody down for this fly. Nice open spiral all the way up. And then we're going to get a gathering wrap, and we'll tie that off like there. What can I do for you? It's what? Oh. Okay, then we'll go ahead and we'll do, again, open spiral of our schlappen up the body of the fly. And if we tied it in correctly, all those fibers should want to point rearward as we go. So we want to use up as much of that feather as we can. Get those nice long fibers. That gives a really nice profile to this fly and lots of movement. And we'll take and we'll tie that off right at the eye as well. Make sure it's good and secure before we go ahead and snip it out. If we can pull all those fibers back and get a couple of good wraps, pulling it back away from that eye, because we're going to tie in a couple of strands of silly legs here. Okay, so we've got that back like so. Ooh, stuff's going everywhere. You're going to have 4 strands of silly legs in your in your package. So I'm going to take my first one, as we've showed quite a few times when we tie these in. I'm going to come fold it around my thread. I'm going to lift my thread up, and then I can use it holding onto my silly legs. I can pull them down right where I want them. Okay, and now when I advance and go over the hook shank, I can hold them in place on the side of the fly nearest to me and tie them off. And now we're going to do the exact same thing on the near side to you. So I'll do again, same thing. I'll lift it up, pull it down so it's on that side of the fly, and get some wraps to hold it in place. Once we got those out of the way, we're just gonna whip finish it. Whoop. Try to get those legs held out of the way. Pull her tight. You can go ahead and snip that out. Put a touch of glue on there if you have it. And then when we pull those legs back, we can pull them up and pull them back. We want them to extend just beyond the marabou, so don't pull them tight, just pull them so they're taut. Snip them even. And that is the front portion of that fly. Okay? Give you guys a quick chance to catch up while I warm up my hands. So yeah, I'm sure, I know our internet isn't super awesome where we are right now, so if it's breaking up a little bit on you there, I'm sorry. When we are finished, we will get this uploaded. The full video will be uploaded for sure to YouTube, and we'll be on Facebook. But stick with us the best you can. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and work on the front half of this fly. So we're going to go ahead and take that next hook of yours, stick it in the vise. Get it nice and secure. Well, again, take that thread, start behind the eye, get a nice thread base. As we go rearward, we're going to go all the way back to that bend again. And we're going to advance it back up, leaving ourselves about a hook gap in width behind the eye. Again, hook gap width behind the eye. We're going to tie in a set of dumbbell eyes. So you should have a pair of lead dumbbell eyes. I'm going to use a pair of painted ones. If you got eyes on them, it's a little better, but it's not crucial. So again, tied in on top, you're going to do your figure eights. Everybody has their own process when they're figure eighting something on. They're tying in these eyes. I kind of have my own way, my own process, which isn't really anything the same consecutive times in a row. Just about getting a nice thread base down, remembering that we have to go around in every direction that we can, figure eighting, going underneath. We want to secure it the best we can. Once we think it's pretty secure, we're then going to take those eyes, we're going to swivel them around to the bottom. If you got some super glue, some UV, it's not a bad idea to put some on those top wraps. Take a look at it from the front. Ooh, that was warm. Make sure it's nice and even. And secure it down. You can bring your thread back a little bit to the bend again. You should also have a piece of wire. Now where mine went, I'm not sure. So again, I'm just going to use some of that that bead wire that we've used in the past. That's what I'm going to use as a connector between these two flies. And you're going to have a couple beads, 2 or 3 beads in there as well. So what we're going to do is I want you to take the back end of your fly. We'll stick that bead wire through the hook eye of the back portion. Even them up together. And then we're going to stick our beads on. Whether you have 2 or 3, not crucial. Can extend the length of your fly a little bit if you have more than 2, go to 3, but I wouldn't go as many as 4, depending on the size of the beads. So I'm going to go with 3 here today. So you should be ended up looking like this. So I went through the eye, and then both of those strands went through all 3 beads. So I'm now going to set this on top back here and tie it in. So I want a little bit of a loop back here on this back extension, but I also want my beads to be sitting right on top of that bend. And I'll tie it in right there. Okay? And I'll advance my thread forward, getting a nice thread base over that wire. We'll bring it back, make sure it's nice and secure. I like to have left myself enough space that I can fold it over, just to make sure that's extra secure. And then we'll cut that wire. Again, make sure those dumbbells are nice and even. And now we're basically just going to redo the process we did on the back, except we're going to leave the marabou out of it this time. So we'll tie in that chenille, we'll tie in that schlappen, and we'll wrap it up again. But unlike what we did when we did the sex dungeon, the actual head's going to be built out of that cactus chenille, so it's a little bit easier for us to work with. Okay. So we're gonna first tie in that schlappen, and then we'll tie in that cactus chenille. Okay. So bring our thread back to the hook bend. We'll tie in that schlappen. Make sure it's good and secure. We'll cut out that little bit of extra feather. We'll tie in our cactus chenille, like so. And then we're gonna advance our thread to right behind the dumbbell eyes, and we'll leave it there, okay? So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that cactus chenille. We'll start that wrapping forward process like we did in the back side, all the way forward. And we'll finish it right behind those dumbbell eyes, tie them off, but we're not gonna cut it off, okay? Important piece, we're gonna leave that there. Don't cut that off yet. Now what we'll do is we'll bring that schlappen, do that same open spiral we did in the back portion of the fly. We're gonna move it forward. We are gonna tie in some more ciliary legs up just behind the eyes, so you gotta kind of remember we're gonna leave some room for that, but it's okay if you crowd it for now because we can take some wraps of thread, and that will help us move that material back. So I'm gonna tie that down, encapsulate it, and you can at this point cut out the schlappen, but you have to leave the cactus chenille. Okay, so I'm just gonna remove that schlappen, and you should be left with it looking like so. And now we're gonna tie in those legs exactly like we did on the back. We're gonna do it in the front. So this cactus chenille can kind of be in the way. It's gonna be kind of annoying, but you just gotta work with it for now. I'm gonna take ciliary legs. I'm gonna first put them on my side of the hook. So again, you wanna kind of leave it right on the side of the fly. Oop, that one broke. Okay, so we'll go there on the side of the fly, and then we'll do same thing on the near side to you. Okay. Sorry, my finger dexterity is not quite what it always is in the gold. Oh my gosh. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on the near side of the fly. Get that nice and secure. Just takes a couple wraps. And then once that's in there, we can advance our thread forward to just behind the hook eye. All right, so at this point, we're gonna take that cactus chenille. We're gonna take a full wrap behind the dumbbell eyes. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna kind of pull all that material back. And now, what we did when we tied in those dumbbell eyes, as far as figure eighting over those eyes, we're actually gonna do the exact same thing, except with the cactus chenille. Okay, so I'm gonna go in front. Now back under. So if you can tell, all I've done is one figure eight. So I'm actually building that head out of that cactus chenille. So if I turn it over, it's completely covered because I've done one full figure eight. I'm gonna pull that up, do one more full wrap in front of the dumbbell eyes, and I can tie it off. Pull it back, put some wraps in front of it, snip it out. So it's just one figure eight with that cactus chenille. Will cover up all your thread wraps, and we'll get it out of the way. From that point, fly's almost done. All I need to do is whip finish the fly. We'll do 2, 3, or 4 turn whip finishes. And you go ahead and snip that thread off. Now, as far as these legs are concerned, we're actually going to leave these ones full length. If they don't extend beyond the back of the fly, it's a really good length. We want lots of movement up front there, so we're going to leave those full length. So go ahead, put a spot of glue up front on those threads. But as you can see, we'll have full coverage. Pretty simple fly, kind of very similar to our sex dungeon that we've tied in the past. But this one is just, we're building that head out of it's got a lot more flash in it, and it's just built out of that cactus chenille. So we're not getting a lot of sculpin look to it as much, it's more of a thinner profile. But really effective fly nonetheless. Okay, I'll give you guys a quick second to catch up with that. I want to take a second again though and thank Caravel Craft Brewery. Thank you guys for allowing everybody to show up tonight and to still tie even though we're not there. And for all the people who helped set up tonight, I know Eric and everyone else there who kind of took the time on the tech side of things and was able to do that. I really appreciate it. And Jared, thanks for being there, helping everybody out. I know you're giving them all the instruction I can while I'm not there. Okay guys, what we're gonna do from here is we're gonna move on to our next fly. So our next fly is gonna be our Noble Chernobyl Stonefly, okay? So in the rest of your materials, in that little bag that you have there, it should have the materials needed to do the Chernobyl. So you're gonna have a raw piece of foam in there. You're gonna have a hook. So first of all, what I want you to do is take that hook and get it secured in your vise. I'm gonna do a little bit bigger one even than you have, just because I can over exaggerate and show you. Where did my foam go? Just give me a second. This one. Okay, so kind of the materials we're using for this fly is we've got foam, we've got some legs because we're going to put legs in the Stonefly. You're going to have a pretty good chunk of this Senyo's laser dub in there. That's what we're actually going to be dubbing the body with. And then we're going to have some more silly legs, like I said. And then we're going to have, you have EP fiber in there. What I'm going to use is this kind of a pretty cool product by Hairline. It's called Chernobyl Afterglow. This stuff actually glows in the dark, so kind of a cool post. But any post material will work. So we're going to be using that to tie in a wing. Okay, so let's first start by cutting our foam. So for a foam on this fly, we're going to cut the foam based upon the size of the hook. So kind of gauging it, we want the cut to be the width of our hook gap. So I'm going to mark where the hook gap is. So I want it to be that width, and I want it to be, if I hold that foam, I want it to extend about 1/4 inch either end of that fly. Okay, about 1/4 inch either end of that fly. So on this one, for instance, I'm going to cut her here. So I'll cut this up and I'll show you kind of where I want it to be. So I gauge it again, I get an idea. You can get your strip that I have cut for you there. Just try to trim it down to the right size. So for instance, this right now is a little bit too long. I like the width. I got that hook gap and width. But now I'm just going to cut it down slightly in length. And on the front side, we're just going to lop those corners off. So it looks more like so. I'm going to do the same thing in the back. Not taking much off those corners, just enough to take that square edge off of them. So now, that might be a touch long for mine still. I'm going to take a little bit more off. Repeat the process. Good, I'm happy with that. Okay, the first thing you're going to do though is you're going to go ahead and get your thread started on your hook. We're going to put a nice thread base down all the way down the back end of the hook. This fly should be a little bit more familiar with you guys. I think we already did a Chernobyl once, but this one I kind of wanted to show you is what we're going to use during our classic Stonefly season on the Bow River. Okay, so this is a true Bow River stone. I'm tying it on a little bit bigger hook than you are even. I'm using a size 6 streamer hook, so this is a big fly. Lots of foam, floats really well, great as a hopper dropper setup because you could keep almost anything afloat. It's really good for that. So once we've got that good thread base down, we're gonna go back to the hook bend. Whew. Move my heater a little farther away. It's warming up the stuff that doesn't need to be warm. Okay, so the first time we tied the chubby Chernobyl, we tied crystal flash off the back. I'm not going to tie it with crystal flash tonight. It's not crucial that you do so, my opinion. So that's how we're going to do it tonight. I'm not going to do it either. You don't have the material to do it as well. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our dubbing. So this is that Senyo's laser dub. This is in tan. We like a nice tan underbody on this version of this fly. Again, how we're going to dub it on, we're going to dub it on with our fingers, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to dub a nice noodle, as we call it, that noodle. We've done this in the past. We're going to go all the way forward to just behind the hook eye, and then we're going to do a nice thin dubbing noodle back, okay? So we just want to get nice, good coverage. So, my fingers are so cold. We get a nice dubbing noodle on here. I am struggling with cold fingers. So we're going to go ahead and wrap forward with that. So we're just making a nice base, nice tan base all the way up. So as we need to add in more, we will. So I ran out there, so I'm going to add some more. Again, if you wet your fingers, helps as well. We're just trying to get nice, good coverage. Holy man. There we go. So just getting good coverage all the way up to behind that eye. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking for like the most even looking body on this fly. We just want to get good coverage. And then we'll do a little bit thinner one on the way back. More just to cover our thread wraps than anything. But if it bulks it up a little bit more, there's nothing wrong with that either. And we can do a little bit wider wraps on the way back. Just trying to keep that body looking fairly even. We are going to use some dubbing as we go forward as well because we need to cover up our work. So if we put some thread wraps over top of this material, we need to remember we got to cover it back up. Okay? So once we get to where we want to, if we got too much, that's fine. Just pull it off. Whoop. Well, that's gone. Okay. So we want to finish with our thread now that we've gone all the way back to the hook bend. I'm going to put a little bit more on so we can bring it back to about where the hook point is. So we'll come back forward, cover up any wraps we make, and we want to end right here. Okay. So then we're going to take our foam. We want to set it on top of that hook, get a good look at it, kind of the profile I have here. I want it to be evenly in front of that hook eye as it is off the back. So from here, again, like I said, I'm using that 140, and the reason I'm using 140, not something lighter, is not the strength factor of this thread, but the fact that it needed to be thick enough it's not going to cut through the foam. And that's the biggest thing we don't want to do. So I'm going to take that nice gathering wrap, and I'm going to kind of pinch this down on top of there. It's going to want to move on you and roll a bit, so we take a couple more thread wraps again, tighten it down. We'll start to feel it get more secure. Then you can maneuver it a little bit. It's going to round it a little bit, like you can see there. It's going to round on you, and that's okay. It's that profile we're making right now with that foam, and that's what's going to hold this fly up in the water as well. Okay, so now that we're pretty sure that's good and secure, like so, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our silly legs. So we're going to tie one on either side. So if you take the silly legs you have there, you take it, and if you cut it and fold it in half and cut it, And I like to just use a barred leg. This is orange and black. It could be black and gray, could be black and brown. It's just we want to see a nice barred leg. That really kind of gives a good look to the fly. I'm going to set them both on top. And you're going to kind of wonder why I'm doing it like this, but I'm going to put 2 light wraps. Now when I say light, I mean I didn't pull any pressure on them. Now I can grab those and I can adjust them. Okay, so now I can pull one side to that side, or sorry, one set of legs to that side and one set of legs to this side. Now I don't want them to go too far down in. I want them to stay kind of in the crease of that foam, otherwise the legs will point straight down. So making sure they stay where I want them to. Now I can take a couple more secure wraps. These are kind of annoying. You got to work around them. We're going to tie in that wing material as well as cover up our work. So you kind of got to get used to working around those legs for each of these portions. Okay, so that's tied down nice and good. We're going to take that wing material next. So you've got a ton of wing material in there. You're going to get to kind of decide how much of it you want to use. But if you remember the last time we tied this, you use more than you think you need to. Okay, so for sure don't use more than half because we have to do this twice. So for me, I'm going to take a good chunk, remembering that I'm folding it in half, so it's going to double its worth more or less. So you're getting 2 for 1. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to cut it off. We will be cutting this once we have it in. So when I tie this in, I'm going to tie it in up top, and we're going to fold it back. So evenly 50-50. Tie it right on top, so like so. I'm going to pull that back, and we're going to put some thread wraps in front of it. It's okay if it still pops up on you, because what we do next is really going to force it down. Okay, so to cover up all that work we just did, I'm going to take a little bit more of that dubbing, and this time just a really thin amount. Make another little noodle. And now between the legs, we're going to wrap over top of that, pulling that wing rearward. See what that does there? Makes a nice little covering up of that color. And it also forces that wing rearward, which is what we want here. Okay? So now I'm going to advance my thread forward, and I'm going to leave about as much space. So I'm going to come in right about here, and I'm going to place this down. I'm going to make another wrap. But to move forward, what I have to do is I have to dub my thin noodle so that I'm covering up my wrap as I go, and so you don't see black lines going through your dubbing that we worked already so hard to put down. So, nice thin noodle. That's why we gave you quite a bit of this stuff, because we're constantly using it as we move up and down this fly. So I got my dubbing noodle there. I'm going to pull that foam back. Start taking very open spiral wraps forward. Make sure we dub over that thread, so if we can see any, we need to add some more dubbing. Need to add a little bit more for myself. Right here. We're going to end like so behind the fly, or sorry, behind the hook eye. Now I'm going to fold that back and down. Got a little bit of dubbing in there I'm going to trim out. I'm going to fold that down. So I've got about two hook eyes behind the hook eye that I'm using as my width. Take that nice gathering wrap. Take another one, pinch it down so it stays right on top. Because I don't want that foam to rotate around. I want it to stay right on top, okay? So make sure that stays in there nice and tight. Now again, we're going to repeat the process. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in those legs again. So take another one of those strands, cut it in half. We'll tie it in on top, and then we'll split them just like we did last time. Now we're just repeating the process that we did on the back end of the fly. And we'll do it up here. So splitting those legs up on top. A couple of loose wraps so that I can then get a hold of them. Pull them down to either edge of the fly. And then we can take a couple more wraps to secure them. Okay? If you've got a comb, it's not a bad idea to comb through this fur as well. It really helps it to any material you have, it really helps it to bind together. I'm not sure if I have mine here or not. I do not. Okay. You got some Velcro by chance? Like a Velcro brush or anything like that? Cool, it'll help me out. Okay, so we got those legs in. So now we're gonna repeat the process on the, on that wing. So we're gonna take some more of that wing material and we're just gonna do exactly what we did, the back portion of the fly. We're gonna do it again. So it is a bit of a guess. You're just kind of you gotta tie about 150 of these before you feel comfortable with the amount that you wanna use. So we'll tie that in on top. I know it seems, depending on what your material you're using, could seem really long at this point. But that's okay, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim it at the end. So I tie it in on top, a couple nice good thread wraps, make sure it's nice and tight. Remembering now I'm gonna fold that back, working around those legs the best that I can. Make sure that's good and secure. So I like to try to pull both of those legs forward and pull those ones back so that I can get those hook wraps where I want them. And sometimes it is really tough to work around those legs, and that's probably the biggest complaint in tying these flies. It's just kind of working with that process. It is what it is. So now all we got to do to really finish this fly is we got to do that same dubbing to fold it back as we did before, and then we'll dub up to the eye, we'll whip finish, and that's going to be about it. So not a ton more to do here. Just make sure you give yourself enough dubbing to really get a good layer laid down so it really forces that wing rearward. So again, managing those legs the best you can, which isn't always easy. Just making sure you get a nice base so it really points it rearward. Can always tighten that up. I got about the perfect amount to do a nice, get myself back up to the eye, do a few thread wraps, and we're gonna whip finish right there. It's good, Zach, don't worry about it. Yeah, we're okay. I was going to show you how we could brush that out, but it's not a big deal. If you still have your fancy brush that Jared made for you, Velcro is a really good way of combing stuff together. So when we're trimming this wing now, we're going to pull them both together. So we're going to pull them back rearward, like so, depending how much material you have. So we want that the front wing is going to be longer than the back wing. So we're going to pull it back. I'm going to give myself a 1/4 inch behind the fly and then cut through it. Whoop. Try and hold on to all my material here as it blows away. Okay, so that's what our wing's going to look like. And this wing, it's already a very floatable material, but what makes it even better is you put a little bit of, if you dip that all in Flygra, dry it off, and then you can touch it up with some powder after that. This fly is so hard to sink. That's the beautiful part of these big Chernobyls. If you look on our underside, we've got our nice tan underbody. We've got our barred legs. I'm gonna trim those legs back a bit. So I like them to be pretty long, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm not gonna trim a ton off of them. And if you might find that maybe one day they like the legs a little longer, or at least in your head you think that's what they like, then you can even trim them when you're on the water. I'm just gonna trim mine here. Still leaving them pretty long, okay? Like so. And that is what we call our noble stone, our noble Chernobyl fly. True Bow River stone. Hard to beat this. Fairly simple tie, a lot simpler than other stonefly patterns. Yeah, that's what we got for you for our flies. So again, guys. Oh yeah. Over here, buddy. So kind of cool here. We have one of our resident shop guys here, Zach. He actually does some fly designing for Umpqua, which is a pretty big name in the selling department of flies. Sit right here if you can get your legs in there. So tell us a little bit about it. I'm gonna hand you this mic over so you can.
Cool.
That'll pick us both up? Okay, cool.
Sweet.
All right, so tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from.
Zach King. I run Wolf Creek Angler here. Been up here in Wolf Creek about 4 years before I moved up from Helena. Before that, Virginia by way of Alaska. Anyway.
A little bit of everywhere.
Yeah, military family, gotta love it. Anyway,
Yeah.
a few bugs that I work on out here, smaller articulated plus some bigger ones, just a little different action. So that guy's the MK Ultra.
MK Ultra.
You've probably seen the beads, Hairline's carrying them now, but they're the little 3D beads.
Okay,
for the
right
bodies
on.
in there.
Those are some big beads. I'll toss that one in there so you
Yeah.
can get a little better look at it.
A little different color. And so that came after. I tied actually a bigger version of it with the weighted head.
So you guys can see the beads underside.
Yeah.
Nice big beads. You said you can get it from Hairline now?
Yeah, they got them at Hairline. Guys like Fly Fish Food in Utah sell them. There's a few guys that sell them now. So I use a lot of those for segmentation, but
Nice.
that's the next big one.
Okay.
Bigger baitfish pattern. Montana
The trailer
minnow.
hook in it. Montana minnow.
Just a big treble hook in the back. Same 3D beads and that baitfish emulator.
Flash, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what it
that's
is, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, big fish skull, heavy head on it. Gets down, it's flashy. It's fun.
Right on.
Last one is one I've been liking a lot lately. It's the bunny whaler.
Bunny whaler.
Yeah. So really
So
small.
articulated, small shank at the front.
Yep. Bunny brush up front for the head, so it's got
Bunny
some nice
brush,
bulk. Yeah.
Sweet.
And then pretty much just like a big bugger in the back with some legs on it. So
Nice,
do
yeah,
a
a
few
little
different
different
flavors of that. I like white and olive for Montana a lot, pretty much no matter where I go.
Okay.
Unless it's on the big hole with Lee, and then it's like gold shit and gummy worms. So,
And the worm.
Yeah.
The dirty worm.
yeah. But yeah, whites and olives are my go-tos pretty much out here. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Wolf Creek. What do you guys offer here? This is, at least from my perspective, most shops where we're from don't have lodging and everything else like that. So this is kind of unique for us.
Yeah, so we got cabins, bungalows, full kitchens, motel rooms, pretty much basic to a little more, not even higher end. But yeah, if you want a full kitchen, you want a place to cook every night, we do that. Shuttles, flies. A lot smaller than Craig, so yeah, Craig's just up the road from us. A lot different vibe. It's just a lot more laid back. We got a little Prickly Pear Creek right out front, so when that opens up third weekend of June or May, go toss some big chubbies out there, some ants, terrestrial patterns. Pretty fun. So yeah, just a little different shop with the small guys out here, but yeah, do it a little differently than everybody. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all right. Different is good.
yep,
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, we attract some interesting people.
Like the crew is standing around here.
Like Garnet Clues.
Yeah.
All these bad hombres
Yeah.
from across the border.
Whoa, now. Cool. Well,
I know there's
thanks.
a bachelor for that one.
Well, we appreciate you having us here and kind of welcome us into your community, and we're having a blast with you guys down here.
Yeah, glad you guys
been
are.
fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. So fishing's been pretty good, and
Yeah, we can't complain. Can't
we'll have to
complain.
come back in the spring or like in the fucking summertime. when it's going on.
Yeah, we will be. Don't worry.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Right
Well,
on.
sweet, man.
Thanks,
Thank you.
man. Thank you. Cool, guys. So that's all we got for you this evening. Thanks for tuning in. I know we're kind of experimenting with this, being away and doing a little bit remote. Don't know. Obviously, we love being at home with you guys and being able to talk and shoot the shit after and stuff. We love it. But we're thankful to be down here as well. So I think I'm gonna leave you with that. Thanks again. Thanks again to Caravel Craft Brewery for allowing everybody to show up there tonight, and all the people who helped set up and make that happen. Really appreciate it. Again, I'm Tim Epworth here with Fly Fishing Boat River Outfitters. Again, if you guys want to book trips, you know where we're at. Shoot us up. We're still got some discounts on here for the spring, so let us know. All right. Talk to you guys. See you next time. Yeah, Canada. Oh yeah, dude. Really? Oh man, I guess we get too spoiled. We have it too much.